It's the first one of the civic year, so I will open it because I would like to seek nominations for chair of the committee, please.
John.
So we've got a nomination of Councillor John Rhodes. Any other nominations?
No, I agree with John. Yeah, that's what's mine.
Those in favour? There we go. Hand over there.
Well, that's a vote of confidence. Thank you, colleagues. That unanimous. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, well, welcome to the Planning and Environment Committee meeting on the 19th of May. Do we have any apologies for?
Well, we might need a deputy chair.
Oh, a deputy chair. Who were any nominations for deputy chair?
To propose Councillor Marilyn Houston.
I'll second.
Do we have all in favour?
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Welcome. Okay. Okay, item 2 then. To receive apologies for absence.
Councillor Messent.
Item 3, to note the declarations of members' interest in the agenda as it was sent out. Steve?
It's a personal interest in item 9, number 1, which is about the local listed buildings consent order for the buildings.
Declaring non-pecuniary as volunteers within the Residents Association.
That's right.
Yes.
Also, there we go.
Same with you, Lena.
Yes, same.
Thank you. So item 4, can we confirm the minutes of the planning meeting that was held on the 28th of April? Those who are in attendance.
Second.
Okay with the minutes? I sign them? Thank you.
See all the seats are full?
No. Thank you. Item 5, public participation. No members here. Is anything?
No.
Members of the public? Thank you. Right. So item 6 then, to consider and make responses to the following planning applications. The first one is 251362, 57 Ellis Street, single story rear bedroom extension.
It's I've had a look at it. It's a standard single story. It's a small bungalow. It's on a perfectly reasonable spot. There are no residents' comments. It's not an extensive extension. It's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah. Oh, that's all right.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Colleagues?
Yeah.
No comment?
No.
Okay, thanks. Next one, 251331, Barclays, 38 Market Street, and it's a planning consent to repositioning of the existing ATM.
Okay, both this, that, and the next one together.
And 1330 is similar, which is
The advertising
somewhat the same.
Mm.
You've all had opportunities to see that.
Yeah.
Is there anything that jumps out at you? Is that okay then?
I
No
think
comment?
it is, yeah. Why not?
Doesn't really
No, I
affect
don't
anything,
think
does
it. No, I don't think so.
Okay, so that's then done. Right, 24, 2864, street record, Miriam Street, erection of 6 one-bed, one-person apartments. Now this is what we looked at some short time ago, really, and we made comment, and this is now changes to it, I take.
There have been slight changes to it. Yeah, it's on this piece of land here. There's the Grand Junction Retail Park, and this is a piece of land here, and it's to build single structure building, 3 stories. It's got some design to it. It's not just a box. It's got some use and things like that. Gable ends and things to do with its features. And its original proposal was for 6 one-bedroom, one-person apartments is what the application is still in for. We have previously objected to that proposal there, and those grounds were 2-person, one-bedroom living accommodation not meet adopted minimum technical housing standards. They've now amended that to be 1-person, one-bedroom. Provision of high density accommodation in the setting will lead to loss of amenity, noise, street parking, on street waste. So our proposal does not provide residential mix, contrary to policy. Government proposals of this scale should provide net biodiversity gain. And the proposals represent clear of development sites with the risk of significant detrimental impacts on existing residences and businesses due to access. And vehicle access does not allow for vehicles to pass, causing highway concerns associated with safe access and egress. So what's changed is they've made the second floor, the top floor, a single bedroom option. And they've shown each one as a single person unit. Not that one. So, from my limited knowledge and understanding and observations, it's same proposal, just demonstrated in a different way to show the bedrooms as single. So this is the first floor. You enter. You've got a kitchen, lounge, dining area, bathroom, and single bedroom. Unit 2 on the ground floor is the mirror image. On the first floor, it's very similar, and on the second floor at the top, they made it so it's a larger living area and a larger single bedroom over here. So that does technically fulfil the technical minimum housing standards if they are single. That's the amendments as far as I understand them. I perceive it to be nominal adjustments, unless they can condition within any plan associated planning consent that they are only single occupancies, but I don't think they can. Other than that, I can't see any benefit.
What about the egress
I couldn't. Well,
to the car park? Is that the same as?
Exactly, that's space there. Exactly the same. So that's. Sorry, it's hard to read because.
So they've got enough parking.
Well, they're showing this potentially, but the concern was that access was very tight with that concept. They have got a bin store and they have got bikes. How readily we get the bins back to that space through all those cars, I'm not sure, but it's not a plan issue. Right?
How far over to?
It struck me looking at it. Apart from the query about technical room sizes, the rest of it virtually unchanged. And it seems to me the other objections, not least the access arrangements and the impact on houses which are on Earl Street, none of that's changed. I would have thought those objections still hold.
Okay. Dennis?
Greystone Park, if I remember rightly, the land that goes on to Greystone Park, isn't it?
You get 30 goes back, yeah.
Yeah, see,
There you go.
where they use that as a car park a lot of the times. I'm down Miriam Street most days, and you see vehicles parked on there, but I'm sure you can see into Greystone Park area. So I'm just wondering whether they've got access into Greystone Park from the back.
Not what I can see. That's long boundary there. 2.1 metre high brick wall.
So a bit wall going across it.
And that would be
At the back.
that would be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So then any other comments? Just so are we talking then? It's now 5
Yeah, I think if members were minded to, there might be the original objections are in general sustained, and that the application is no longer accurate as it states for 6 single units, but it's 5. The concerns have not been addressed.
Yes, Tommy.
How wide is it to like that bit where the car's supposed to be going down?
What this
It's
bit here?
tiny, yeah.
It's not big. You'll fit a car down there.
You would?
3 meters, it's saying.
Oh, 3 meters.
Oh no. Saying it's 3 meters there to there.
That's nice.
I don't know what's measured.
Is that a walkway?
Yeah, that's a walkway as well, isn't it?
You won't get a bin lorry down there, will you?
No.
No.
It's
Where the bins storage.
Right under a
Bin
corner.
storage is over here, which I don't quite understand because you've got to get the bins through the bikes, through the cars.
Yeah.
Oh, my, yeah.
That wouldn't really work.
Yeah.
They won't want to take
It wouldn't, would it?
I think you have a few not wing mirrors and scratch cars.
I don't
If
think
you were doing that every
Yeah, I don't think that's wide enough. I don't know what. I don't
They'll just be
understand.
left on the
They
street.
may leave them on
They
the
will.
front of the street.
So anyway, in what Pete said and echoing Steve, there's very little change. Do we want to just resubmit the gist of that?
Well, I propose that, Chair.
You propose that, then we
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, agree with it.
Okay then. Thank
Yeah.
you. Now this is a saying. 251055 One Weekly Road. It's a variation of condition 2 on approval of something from the 14th strike 2698, which is 2014 originally.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Over to you.
this is a fun one. Right, there was a there was an approval granted in 2014 for a 3-bed detached house. They dug out the footings for it and put in the base for that original plan application. And now this application is a change of the interior layout of that proposal.
Right.
And some of the elevations. I've had a look over it. It's the same sort of stuff, the same sort of shape. I say exactly the same shape as on the footings. Dwelling, and I think it's a mezzanine setup, which is quite unusual. The windows don't overlook. There's an obscure toilet window on the first floor. That's all. The rest are in the roof on a slope. As far as I know, as not being a planner, they built it on exactly the same footage as the planning for. It's just a different design and layout.
Don't I- Wheatley Road to me is a road that goes from Sydney Road to Plaintree, and both sides of the road have got houses with gardens that back onto each other.
It's in the garden, isn't it? Is it not in the garden?
I just can't see where they're going to put a house unless they
Well-
brought the gardens off them.
If there's a big enough plot, you look at
Yeah.
the map. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
This is remember it's historical applications.
Just for those of you who are more au fait with planning systems, if it was first in 2014, would that then after 3 years would fall? Have they kept it in like just shy of say 2017 and so on and so forth?
If you make a technical start to a development within the allowed time, that is then considered an extant.
Right, which is the word they use.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. That means you've retained your planning consent because you made a technical start within the timescale. They've dug the footings, that's why I said it. Dug the footings and held that planning consent in there. So that's why it's a change of condition, where it is variation.
Right.
So where is it, Pete?
Right.
Is that those are the footings there? And that plot there, which is already walled out onto the road there.
It might have easily been that garden of that
So I
house.
was going to say,
right.
it looks like
Isn't
a
it?
garden, doesn't it?
Looks okay.
Is that-
It's a regional plot, it's a regional scale.
Yeah, it
It's,
does, Yeah.
Because the other house.
As well as it sounds.
The principle of development there is already approved.
Right.
This is a request to vary exactly the layout of that building.
That's all, yeah.
What is the variation?
Oh, I don't know.
Is it anything contentious or?
No, it's exactly the same.
I think if it's
Same
nothing
book.
contentious,
we
it
should
should
be
we all
fine.
lose.
Yeah,
I think
we should be fine. It's space.
Don't see it should matter if it's on the same footprint, you just won't make interior alterations. It's like building it and then take it finally down 10 years later and altering the interior, really. And then asking for planning for it.
It presumably it reflects the house, that house.
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And,
it's totally appropriate. If you might
It's
see
not-
this house here, this is the other, this is its reflective part of the house, so
Yeah.
to this one.
Yeah.
So that's the other corner plot.
Yeah.
And so what they've done is hive off that sort of area
Mm.
and created
Yeah.
that opportunity there. And it's in built on now. I don't honestly,
And I
I'm,
know
not,
it
I'm not a
was-
planner, but
I
I
know
can see
it
the
was-
risks.
I know it was
That's all
like
right.
not pine tree.
Right, so
Yeah.
we leave that
Yeah, it's
as
fine.
is.
Yeah, it's fine.
Could take
and
another 40
that's all the
years.
success in building it then. Right, 20,
Back out 11 years from now.
you got out of that one well, that question was asked anyway. 251308. 131 Stony Road. Now this is approval reserve matters for access, landscaping, etc. and a lot of conditions. 1 through to 16 with a few exceptions. Following outline approval on the in 2022-01-09.
Well, I did read it. It's best explained with the planning statement.
We made comment on this 22 whenever because it's on the corner on the bend. I mean, the town council planner made a comment.
From my reading on it,
22/1 at
25 is not.
25, sorry. Oh no.
Start doing this now. So, my bags.
Gosh. Sometimes I get that wrong because I can't see it.
Pretend that's what. Hey.
How many are beds?
Oh. So it's that space there, yes.
Right.
We object.
It's on that sweep, isn't it?
Yeah, as a committee, it was objected
Yeah.
to, the planning consent was given, and so now we're talking about the reserve matters, and so you can't object to the
No.
planning option because that's already been done. Well, these are the conditions it's addressing. Those are the details of the access, ground levels, street scene elevations are shown on the drawings, visibility displays, off-street parking. So it's the conditions that were put against it, so they're addressing the reserve matters in the planning context. I am not qualified to speak on gas-fired boilers or electric vehicle infrastructure. I don't know.
But the actual house itself was already passed.
The
Yes,
principal
passed
plan
on
was
this.
passed. This is
Passed,
reserve
so-
matters. So I don't have any comments. I can open it all up if you like. But
But
Is any-
what is having comments?
I think I suggest we leave it to the planning officer to
Yeah.
use their expertise and knowledge.
That sounds a
I
good
would
speech.
concur with that. Yeah.
If it's all
I would.
inside the
Yeah.
house, to me,
I would.
I
Yeah.
don't care what
No,
they're
I would
doing
okay.
concur
inside,
with that.
as long as it's within the law.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, thanks for that. So next one then, 25/1027, Victoria Street Dental Practice, 1 to 5 Support Street. Alterations to existing facade, new entrance, lighting and signage, and various other things inside. And alterations to the internal layout and access to the existing first floor flat above 99 Victoria Street. Oh no. Right, this is an existing dental practice. with an empty shop at the end, right next door to the Jubilee Gardens. Obviously want to.
Chairman. Shall I declare a sort of a personal and non-peculiar interest because that's my dentist? Or shall I ignore that? Or do you want to ignore that?
Oh, that, okay.
Will you take your
Is
teeth
that
out?
yours, Lee?
Well,
Or is it too late?
I've lost it.
Not turkey teeth, anyway.
Well, I would think we would be very keen for any dental practice to be extended. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
If it's all internal.
Right.
I think it's what they want. It's a bit
I ju-
complex.
Yeah, I think
complex
it's
to me, to
fine.
be honest.
I think it's
Of course
fine.
it-
If I could just interject at this point.
Sorry.
It does say there's also some internal to the flats that are above the shop and above the next two shops, 97 and 95. Now, it's been a bone of contention with my good self for some while that 7 bins have been stored on the street outside this corner, which they're now going to revamp and make it more attractive. And those are the flats. Now, for some reason, and we've tried through planning enforcement and Pete's wrote as well to get them in their designated place at the rear of the building, of which, when it was passed originally, there was space at the back. Now, for some reason, within the last 2 weeks ago, the bins have moved. The bins are not now on the street. So it begs the question, where are they? Get at the back. Because I want to make certain, was to make that corner more attractive, because it's just a whitewash shop front. When they make that more attractive, then I don't want to see 7 bins again, because those bins are for the flats above. Now it does say there is a space at the rear. If you look at that top end, down there, well, if you get the others, there's a gate into the car park where I would imagine the bin should be. So it's nothing. It isn't something to do with it, because I think they should make certain, because they're blocking off that underpass that they get through to the car park. There, that's blocked off as well. So I just want to make certain that when they make that more attractive, that they use the designated bin space at the rear of the property. And I have pictures in my phone to show you if you so wish.
But
Has this been through? Sorry, has this been through Cheshire East planning?
No, this is the condensation on it. So there were already flats there. That's a flat plan issue. This is a change around the floor layer.
Right.
Putting
So-
doors through, it's just
When
like
you look at that last one we looked at, if you look at one bedroom in particular near the front, where is it? No, to the right. Go to the right. That's left. That's it. That bedroom with the stairs on.
Yeah.
To me, that don't look big enough on paper. Because if you, the size of the bed and the size of the room next to it, I mean, we've had this before, Chair, if you remember, but where I could touch both sides of the room.
The problem is that is not what is in the planning now.
Is
That
it?
is
Yeah,
what
okay.
what they're doing is knocking a door through and making access through one door at the front for all the flats. It's just my thing that so we're really, the observation may well be fair, but that is as in, we're not looking at that. What I'm all saying is, we need to make certain that with it being improving that area, that we don't have phase 7 or 8, but 7 actually, various colours of bins.
I'm not sure that's. I can see what you want to achieve, what you want to achieve with that, but I can't really see how that is relevant to this particular application. I mean, well, I don't know where the bin store is, unless it's where it says store and utilities.
There's another, if you look at the ground floor,
Okay.
because we must remember that there are two other businesses, the hairdressers, and there's another business, I think it might be a takeaway, that's in the ground floor shops, and then above it are the flats. Now from the ground floor shops, they have access to the rear, and that's where it says bin storage. These have steps down.
No, I can't see the ground. Am I missing something?
Because they're only
No,
just need to change the out.
Oh,
the layout.
they are. That's it.
Scroll down.
They are bin storage there. All I'm saying is,
Yes.
originally, whilst we look and we're very keen on bins being off the street,
Yes.
this application did say, well, that's the bin storage. But what I'm saying is they've never used that, and I get hung up, and I'll declare here and on record, I get hung up about, particularly in Victoria Street, which is a key way in, we've got bins on the streets, and they should be at the rear. But all I'm saying is, while they do that, does your dentist really want 7 bins at the front of his spending money on it to think, first impression is, oh, look at that.
How far up does the
Anyway.
car park go?
It's at the rear.
It's to the rear.
There, that's the car park for the staff.
No,
Yeah.
I'm talking about
They get in off as the car park in that on the side.
as the car park.
There's them double gates on that diagonal. They get in off there, that's as the car park, and they get in
So-
the park.
So technically, the bin lorries could use as the car park to get the bins. Yes?
Well, they have to when they empty the bins for the flats all above the
Right.
houses in the shops in Victoria Street.
So surely,
That's not the issue. The issue is it's.
but surely,
and
John,
yeah.
technically, if the bin lorries can get to the back, there's no reason for the bins to be out the front.
Well,
Anyway, I'm just sharing that
Yeah,
with you. But I'm just saying that I'd like just to see them moved off the street. Can you?
Well,
put any
I wonder
logic?
if, whilst committee doesn't object to the principle of proposals, it seeks that any associated permission provides for enforceable conditions such that all developments waste storage is stored away from the public realm
In the
in
designated
designated
place.
space.
Yeah, I mean that would be as a kind of an observation. What would you call that?
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you, colleagues.
Yeah.
Right, next one then. 251338, 38 Frank Bot. Erection of a single story rear and side extension.
Yeah, nice.
This is a big plot, isn't it?
Yeah, nothing to worry about on a single, very good. So now I've got myself confused anyway. Too fun. Sliding. Curtains. That's the plot there. That's the plot. Comes around.
The yellow bit. Orange or whatever.
It's this bit here.
Has there been anything from neighbours?
What I saw earlier. No,
No.
no. No,
If the ladies ain't worried about it.
it's there, it's not.
Yeah.
Just saw
It's
it
on
on
the next property, the ground floor, it's got a discreet window, not too high.
Yeah.
Looks like a garage from this angle, doesn't it?
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
No comment?
No.
No.
No comment, Pete.
Okay.
All right with that, Molly? Yeah. Next one then. 251707, Birthwood House, Prince Albert Street. Prior approval for a change of use of the first and second floor from offices within use Class E, commercial and business, to Class 3C, residential. This is over the old Select shop.
Yeah, War Memorial, just go in here. We've already got Imperial Chambers. And then what are these?
System's not as good as the old one, is it?
Nearly there. Okay. So this is how it's supposed to be laid out. It's a load of 1-bed flats, effectively. Kitchen, sitting room, and 1-bedroom flat. Now there is on second floor 1 2-bedroom flat, I think, from memory. Maybe I see that. Maybe I'm wrong. I might be wrong. I thought I saw 2. No, they're all ones. There we go. They all meet the technical minimum housing standard because they're shown as single beds. The
Upstairs is different, isn't it? One's different upstairs.
is there a third floor? That's first floor. That's second floor.
I thought one was different
So one was different as well.
to make 2.
Second first. No. Right, well, I can't see it then. Anyway. So we've got
12 on. There's 12 on that, and there's on the next one. 12 flats on that floor. 13. There's a 13 and a 12, and the 12 has a 2-bedroom,
Well, sorry, 2
or a 2-bed, or a double bed, or
Yeah, well,
for some reason I think they can't do.
Well,
However,
flat 10
there you go.
looks like a
Flat
double
10's
bed.
got a double bed there.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
that's it's there. And I never thought I'd seen it. There's a single bedroom and double bedroom flat 10. That's short. Anyway.
So have you checked the sizes out?
Yeah, the sizes are within technical minimum housing standards if they're single beds, yes. 1 bed, 1 person. 1 bed, 1 person. That's that. I've got some thoughts if you want them.
Does any of the committee want say things before Pete then? Steve and then
Well,
Lee-
yeah,
Lena.
it's prior approval, it's not, in a sense, it's not actually a planning application. Well, for the details, as far as I can see, so probably, I don't know, but probably they're sort of just indicative anyway. And if it's a prior approval and it's only for that change of use, that's what the application's for. From basic living offices to residential. Basically, it's a foregone conclusion that the only people who can actually object effectively, as far as I know, unless it's changed, were highways on grounds of highway danger, things like that. Not necessarily part of the highway danger. And the other one is environmental health. If there are contamination risks. So you could compare, for example, the original, the first case of this was Rail House, which after about 4 or 5 attempts got the prior approval, and then subsequently there was an application, I think, for 168 flats. there's nothing like sufficient parking is irrelevant. There it was from prior approval. So I'm not sure that there's a lot that can be said at this stage. But I mean, I'm happy to. I'm obviously happy to hear what Pete has to say.
Lena, did you want to say something?
I was just going to say about the parking, because I don't think there's any allocated parking. And most of those say people who move in don't have cars, and so there's small apartments, but they usually do. And the bin storage, because the bin storage down at Imperial Chambers is pretty grotty around the side of the building when the gates are open. Piles of overflowing bins, piles of rubbish. So again, they will have, I'm sure, an area for bin storage.
Yeah,
but
there is.
you want to make sure they're not all lined up on the street and they're taken in. But that's probably not, something you can dictate. So it's the usual issues, really, parking and bins, and also the two staircases. I didn't quite see on that. I was worried, about fire escape routes because quite a few people in that building.
Potentially more than 25 anyway.
Yes.
I think just before Pete comes in, I think it's usual, isn't it?
Yeah.
We support living above shops,
Yeah,
and we always say that we want good quality, and it could be either whether that's good quality or not. And I know it's only for private approval. I do think we ought to make some comment, because if you don't do it, then it make the assumption that we're happy with that particular design or whatever. So I think we ought to make some comment. If it's only that we want good quality, and make an inference that might not be good quality, but you know what I mean. I really think we should. But the only other thing I would say, I know you're coming next. Just put me up where the plan of the car park and bin storage and the entrance at the side.
I think I'll give
Yeah, no, there's one where it's a bit more than that. Sorry, Pete. I'm not asking whether you want to get. Oh. The committee waits for him to get it wrong. There's one that shows you the plan of the.
Oh, it's just in this.
No, next down.
That on the flood map.
No, that's just the.
That one.
Go on, go for that one. Right. This just as. Right, that's it. This will be that's where they go in the double gates. You've got bin storage here. Now, at the moment, there's a gate there. I would suggest that gate should be here, because there is a lot of nefarious activity that takes place
in the killing,
whether it's romance or whether it's dumping. But generally speaking, I think if it should be contained on the footprint of the property, would be better for everybody then, because the main entrance is actually next to that, which is assuming they're using the same entrance as it was for Burford House, which is double gated, double. That's just an observation I made over the years where you report it all sorts, not necessarily from there, but from the properties next door.
Yeah.
Molly, did you want to say anything?
Just going to concur with it one thing. I just suddenly thought, I mean, I used to live when I was younger, in some high-rise flats. I'm just thinking about the bin thing, because they can't help it. It is what it is. We need certain bins. But when I lived in these high-rise flats, each floor, I've just thought about it, but it's a design issue. We used to We used to have where we just put them down a chute and then it would be collected in a main bin. So therefore, you'd only have less bins because it would be so you'd only collect instead of having a bin each, we would do that. So you'd have it in a bag and then you'd chuck the bag. Now, obviously, you're going to have recycling now because in my day they didn't have recycling. But I'm just wondering whether, because we do need housing. However, the bin thing is a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. How do you go back to them and say, because nobody's going to put them away, they're all going to be on the street. I'm just thinking whether someone should put some sort of idea, a design idea, especially with new technology that's coming out. Why can't they do something like that where on each floor, chute goes, so big bin gets collected, that's recycling, that's thingy, and then there might only be 4 bins, 5 bins, because they're big, and then a bit left the industrial type. So the big lorries used to come when I lived in these high-rise flats when I was young, and just collect the big bins. We never had bins. I know it's not going to work for today, but it was just a thought. It just got me thinking just now. I don't know. That's it. That's all I was going to say.
Thank you.
You know, because it's still a recurring thing.
It's something we never resolve.
No, but I think it might be something that is resolvable, perhaps. I don't know, to sit down with a designer. Like, I know we had other things like the city, because when it's in town, there's always a parking issue. And I'm thinking that if it's anything in town, I think we need to sort of suggest they have a different way of waste. So each tenant isn't responsible for bins per se. Root for them. Life's changed.
Stephen, then I'll go over to
I certainly agree about the problem with waste disposal in that area, because next door to Imperial Chambers, as it's been said, I mean, that's horrible down the side alleyway, even with large bins, even with several large bins.
They put mattresses.
There's endless dumping and stuff down there. So, irrespective of what I said earlier on, well, the thing that crossed my mind was, this, if environmental health can object or at least make observations on the basis of contamination, you would have thought that if you haven't got proper waste storage arrangements, you're going to have some sort of environmental contamination. It was just another angle to it. Interesting, the idea of
I mean, nobody could access that area because the bin man would have the key. So that is a sealed area, aired, ventilated accordingly. So no one could dump anything extra. Nobody would be able to dump because you can't access it. So the chutes would come in this side within the building, and then it was for the bin men to have from the caretaker access to empty the bins when necessary. That would avoid all these street bins that we have and people having to be responsible and a tenant issue that we've all got. Within a town, I think we need to think outside the box, perhaps with planners, architects. Can you build that in to make it different? Because I don't know, I just thought about it.
Probably the case in
well, thank you for sharing your experience.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it was when I was 19. I lived in these high-rise flats. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Never. Right. So yesterday.
Yeah, okay, that's true.
Pete, can you got comments?
Steve's right. It's prior approval, so there's very limited you can get. But I do think I agree with members that to say nothing, I don't think will serve the process very well. I think it's important to state a case for something. And as has been stated, the committee is receptive to developments that provide for town centre accommodation. These proposals are for cramped high density and by effect low quality town centre accommodation doesn't support community of crew or ambitions to achieve quality living accommodation for its residents. it can be added that any development should provide for side gates being moved or relocated to Prince Albert Street, such that it's flush to the eastern elevation, and consideration of a sustainable waste solution in these sorts of settings. But there's a lack of detail associated with provision for sustainable, appropriate and adequate waste storage, which risks impact on the public realm, thereby causing on-street waste and hygiene issues, which is an environmental aspect, as we've spoken about. Lack of detail associated with sustainable, appropriate and adequate storage of bikes, lack of residential mix, which is against policy, and will lead to high density, low quality residential accommodation, resulting in unsustainable communities, which is a local enforcement issue. Overdevelopment of the site due to the high density nature of the proposals, lack of net biodiversity gain, which is against policy, lack of sustainable energy production, such as solar panels, there's no roof plan provided. Proposals, such small units are to be approved, it must be enforceably conditioned due to the very small scale of the individual units, but they are to be only single person habitations. No ground floor plan is provided, no installation or sound mitigation report or detailing is included, and no daylight sunlight report has been provided. These are environmental health issues. There is no external amenity space for proposed dwellings. Green infrastructure standards for England state should have a doorstep of local accessible green spaces within 200 or 300 metres respectively. The nearest green space is over 600 metres away, and the nearest neighbourhood green space is over 1.5 kilometres away at Queen's Park. Therefore, demonstrating inadequacy of provision of external amenity for residents. So I felt that those address some of Councillor Steve Hogman's points about it being a prior approval, and there have to be significant issues of concern associated with environmental health and standards.
And I take it none of the people that go in there will drive.
At prior approval stage,
Don't even try to.
you're exactly right, and it's usually what I would write in these things. But a prior approval stage is not a consideration. I can add it if you as members directly to add it. I have whatever you want. So I can add. There's no provision for otter storage as well. It's not a material consideration.
I mean, with regards to parking, taking up what Dennis has just said, are we able, like, say it was at that stage we could influence, that those flats would only be available to people that are without vehicles? I mean,
Sure, but it's impossible to enforce. I could sign it as I haven't got a car and then go and buy a car the day after. And that's, I haven't told a lie.
Suppose.
Yeah, you
That's
can't evict someone.
Right.
So it'd be in a nice world, yes, but I don't think it's sustainable.
Right. Fair enough.
I think to bring us back on track, and then I'll divert again. Got 2 points to make. So first of all, to bring us back on track, I think we do need to stick to our agenda, and we are only looking at the change. Am I right in saying that we're only looking at the change of use?
Correct.
That's
Prior approval.
of the change of use, right? But let me just have a little diversion, because obviously we're concerned about bins and we're concerned about parking, etc. So, a resident in my area recently was talking to me about when they do planning applications go in and highways do their report, it contains to the number of vehicle ownership in that area, and then they will refer to the fact that in this particular area we're talking about, there will be quite a low number of vehicles per household, but they said to me, and I don't know if this is true, and again I apologise because I am diverting, that nowadays when people have lease vehicles, people have these on these personal purchase schemes.
PCP.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. It doesn't state your own address of where you live. It's like some central point of the company or whatever. So nowadays, the numbers of people who have those type of vehicle ownership don't get counted in. So sorry, my apologies, I've diverted as well. So therefore, shall I suggest we go back to looking at prior approval and change of use?
And with the caveats of what we put, because what just could I just say that before I get about car ownership and the best guess that highways do, and we know this classically recently for Vincent Street, where they went at the time that you'd expect cars not to be parked there,
Yeah.
and they said, oh, it was that very low, you know, and it reminds me of when we used to see applications and highways used to write when it was a HMO, they say this type of property does not require parking. These people don't have cars. Now that annoys me, having lived in an area of high density with HMOs and B&Bs and all that. There is an awful lot of cars because that's the way how they get to work. They might share the cars,
Yeah.
but there's an awful lot. So yes, so your point you make is right. We do digress, but I think it's the only opportunity we might have, because if they give it, then that's out of our hands.
Yeah.
Just one more thing.
Yeah.
I looked at that last bit, and if you notice, there's a gate into the place at one end, but the bins are at the other end.
Yeah.
So if you bring that pointer down a little bit, Pete, that's it there. That's where the
There.
bins are, and yet the entrance is right up the other end.
Yeah.
Why can't they put the gate further closer? So to the bins, or the bins near to the gate? I just
Well, we won't see that until they have the firm
No,
plans, will we?
no.
You see, that's just now.
It's just
you
a
know.
point.
No, you're right. Okay, well, there seems to be a recurring theme about bins not being anywhere near a gate, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Because the dentist was similar. Shall we, what has been said, thank you everybody, and what Peter's, and you pick some of what residents or
Yeah,
have said as well as, haven't you, in that?
that's right.
Yeah.
Are we okay with that?
Yeah.
Go with what Pete says.
Yeah.
But we are mindful it is
Right.
prior approval, however,
Yeah.
the committee felt strongly. Right, next one then, 251738, units A and B. Oh, okay. 1 Western Road, discharge of conditions.
Yeah, it's very straightforward. I didn't see anything on it. Just discharge conditions, really.
Again, approval on the 21st, that's just.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
That's the old Bright Star side.
Which side is it?
It's
Post office side or opposite?
It's on the left hand side as you go round, it's right opposite them traffic lights.
What used to be the tea factory?
Yes. CW116U, that's the postcode.
Right.
Landscape validation letter. Look at that one. Testing.
What is it?
It's a warehouse, isn't it?
It's just a warehouse.
There might be two. I think there might be two on the site.
A and B.
I know the owner said that because it's parking booths as well. The owner said that if both of us moved out, he'd flatten it and put two new warehouses on.
Right, what's that?
What
That's
is
just
that?
the sound, the land testing.
Right.
They're the test holes and all.
Right.
It's all technical stuff. It's fulfilling the conditions of fire.
Yeah.
So it's not.
Beyond me, nothing I understand.
Oh, okay. There's no newts there or anything like that.
No, there's definitely no news.
Oh, all right. So shall we?
Discharge conditions.
Okay, so we leave that then as it is. Yeah,
Seems
thank you.
okay.
We all might look at that. Okay then, thank you. That's now item 7, to consider making responses to any urgent planning act consultations that have risen since the agenda was published, and it is 25/14/14, 18 Hightown. Conversion of an existing property, use class C3 today, C4 approved, to a 7-bed HMO.
Parking.
it was passed recently for a 6-bed HMO,
Sound.
and work started on it. Now they decided to put another loft in or put another window out of the roof and call it a 7. That's actually 6.
That's
It's now
right.
7.
Right.
And it's, by the way, this is nearly completed. But it's on iTown, you can see it from Jubilee House. It's there.
Okay, so that's the attic room. Which we
I think where it is.
Another side shot, it's another side.
It's there. Jubilee House is there behind it. Jubilee
Yeah.
Gardens. That's Blitz.
Right.
That's them that was dumping all the stuff on the road.
There you go.
So
Bedroom.
does that impact having another bedroom? Does that impact on anything else with reference to?
Well, yeah, it's an even denser accommodation that's already
How many floors?
objected by this committee.
How many floors is it?
It's 3 floors, ground floor and an attic room and a first floor. But it's this aspect on there, and yeah, we've got straight off the kitchen, a little bit on the end there.
So do we make comment as we made that we?
Well, I presume wrongly or rightly that that we pretty much against HMOs and purpose of not sustainable developments, and they represent overdevelopment of the site. Provision of a bedroom directly to the kitchen does not provide suitable accommodation due to noise and disturbance. There's lack of internal amenity space for residents, lack of external amenity space for residents, lack of parking provision, and loss of amenity for neighbouring residences due to high density nature of this type of accommodation. As demonstrated by the Article 4 directives in place, improved to curtail such unsustainable developments.
Okay then.
Yeah.
So about that, that's what we're doing. Thank you. Is there no other ones then? Pete?
No, it's all about
That's it. Right. Item 8 then. Have we submitted? No. Item 8 submitted under delegation. We haven't done any, so that's boxed up. Item 9 then. To note and or consider correspondence, consultation, etc. First one, 4 new local listed building consent orders for the Grade 2 listed former railway workers' cottages. And it goes on to say what they want to do, uniform it, and as Gaffers Row as well as.
Yes. Right. The Residents Association has submitted, the railway cottages have submitted their comments, which are very reasonable, and just identify some issues associated with the colouring of the product that's been proposed and the rainwater goods. And I would suggest that we, as we always do, we're very supportive of the Residents Association, and we endorse and support their comments as they represent those that live there. And they're also very positive about the heritage of the site. Our heritage manager, Vicky, has made a couple of observations. Whilst she agrees with statement 4.1 with the proposal, the properties require the change from the current pointing to recommended pointing within our conservation management plan. For the other changes, especially damp issues, to have any impact. With regard to the doors, proposals look to enforce new doors to 1970s doors rather than the original doors, which we have archival records for within the conservation management plan. The colours should be as close as specified colours as possible, or evidenced by historic paint analysis to ensure they fulfill heritage values. 3.12.1 doesn't state the damage of the external walls being painted. Page 36 of the Conservation Management Plan. The paint should be removed, not made to match others, as this doesn't allow the walls to breathe. There we go. And she supports that the copings are triangular.
Okay. Any comment? I mean, that's obviously from Vicky, who would have looked to do that. And there's positive things there. Do we just want to do
I would,
Then
I would
support
suggest that
the-
you support
the
the
Residents
Association.
Association?
Support the
Yeah,
Residents
just support
Association's
it,
comments and submit
Yeah.
Vicky's observations as well. And these are observations,
Yeah.
and definitely not objections.
I'll
Yeah,
second.
we agree.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's unanimous, thank you.
Yeah.
We really support that. So, 2, community infrastructure levy receipt relating to planning development 234278.
Yeah, we've had another surprising contribution from Cheshire East into our bank without any notice. Just chase it up. It's again related to Stoney Park. I can't remember the numbers. I haven't printed out the report, but it's in the pack that I can see Lena's got over there. And it's really for noting that number's in there, and the consideration would be how we access it down the line when opportunities. What there's
There's a 10,700 and 8,500.
the 8,000
That's received, the 8,500. Is this because Stonley Park is outside of what would we say is Crewe Town?
Yes,
Yeah.
Because Crewe Town gets nothing, does it?
I haven't
As
had
such.
full clarification. However, I presume that because it's right outside the normal lot of the town, it's
It
been classed as
would
green
be,
field.
that field, whatever
Yeah,
it was, would have been in,
That's it.
yeah,
I'm assuming it's just tipped into that, which is nice of
that's
us.
fine, yeah. Because one we're doing the allotment.
We should be doing that. I've had no correspondence
No,
from the
but-
developer for some time, so I'm a bit concerned about that. But that was the intent.
Right, okay. So with that for noting then.
Just for noting, there's no
Yeah.
action. on it.
Okay then, we're okay, colleagues, move on.
Just one,
Yes, Steve.
the big discussion which is suggested that it should be, this consultation with residents about the allotments.
Yeah.
Investment. So this further £8,000 or £9,000, £8,500. We can hold them for up to 5 years, but
Yeah.
knowing the speed, relation with speed with which things happen, it's important. Dr. lose that. Is it when might it? Well, who should be consulted on that in due course? And when should we be making some sort of decision about it?
The regulations are a little bit vague. However, if you want to follow the intent of them, I think is what we try and do. Is that we will consult with the residents in and around Stonley Park, because those are most affected by the development, obviously, to see if they agree that to use it to create sustainable allotments on that space. There's not a lot you can use £10,000 for. You can't buy a lot of play equipment, if any, once it's installed. It sounds like a lot of money, but once you try and do anything on the highway, you've lost all of it. It's not a huge amount. So we can provide added value to an allotment site, which is a new allotment site. Hopefully, it'll come online. So that's the intent. We generally engage with and consult with the residents most affected by the development. That's the intent. So the discussion involved the ward members getting engaged and a door drop associated with that. That was the plan. However, unfortunately, since that point, I've had no response from the developer. So I can't progress the consultation because as yet that allotment site isn't completed or handed over. So it would be a shame to go into consultation and say, thanks for your answers, we're not doing that.
But then that's the 10,700.
That is, yeah.
But what about this 8,500?
Nothing's been decided. It's only just been received out.
So
Received in April.
So we'll be looking at that at some later stage to
Yeah.
decide how we might proceed with it.
Entirely open to suggestions. I tend to have all the answers.
Okay,
Well,
It's just for noting, I'm not asking for anything unless you particularly want to make a decision on it.
No.
At some point we will consider it, and perhaps when there's been some for. Do you think that's going to link in with it would be linked into the first SIL contribution?
It's about critical mass. I don't know how you spend the best part of £19,000 on an allotment site, to be honest. So how much value that adds, I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
But if you're going to buy a new set of swings for a play area, it's about 18 to 20,000 pounds and then instalment and maintenance. So
Yeah,
it's a shame it's so expensive. So you could maybe buy some public exercise equipment to put in the green space, but that'll be 2 pieces at most that you'd get for that, and then there's maintenance costs on top. So it's, that's why we considered £10,000 in the past most sustainably, just to create the paths and the appropriate accessibility for a new allotment site. That was the thought, and parking there. If that £8,000 can have value there, that would be deliverable. Anywhere else, I would question how much more it can do. But I don't. It's literature. I want to let you know it's arrived. I haven't given it any more thought.
Okay.
okay.
So that'll be at some later date. You'll have
At
it
some
on the
later
committee,
date.
right. All right then, colleagues.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
Okay then. 3 would be the existing cell next mast, Herbert Street. And there's something in the pack, isn't it, to that?
Yeah,
That.
it's adding bits to the existing mast.
Right.
Um,
As they do.
yeah, it's not. It's bits that I don't, additional antennas.
They're not bulking it out because sometimes they bulk it out.
I couldn't see it's all existing lattice work that they built it on gantry, whatever you want to call that, call it gantry, or call lattice. So it's all that, as I understood it, and please forgive me, I'm not an expert on these things. There's a number of 3, maybe 4 additional antennas on the top that I would never notice.
Right. Okay, so again,
The
to
side
know.
box is the same.
To know.
Unless you want to make a comment.
No.
No. The next one then would be consultation telecom site, Rolls Royce water treatment plant.
Oh, hold on a minute, I've got to do stuff. Sorry. All the way around. I apologise. That last one actually is a new antenna there.
This is back to
Yeah, I apologise. It's my mistake. I had a good
the one at Rolls Royce is beefing it up.
The one at Rolls Royce is adding some antennas. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So the one in where people live there.
Herbert Street.
So what is the difference then in this cell next mast in Thornley Fields Farm?
Well, it's as I understand, it's a new one,
To put a new one, right?
and it's. Those bits.
Right. So does that come under planning?
Well, no, because mobile network. I think it's a consultation anyway. Yeah, it's and it's because it's 5G network stuff. It's presumed allowed because we've got to support development network, so we can make comments on it, but it's
No, but sorry, but in the past we have seen plans.
yeah.
Like when they wanted to put one on the corner of Broad Street and Badger Avenue, we made comment. It was on a because then they were always putting them in any bit of land. They were putting. They were sort of just. Well, let's.
And the one they got.
Yeah.
And we made comment. So does this not come under that?
No, we can make comment on it. There's nothing wrong.
No, I'm just asking. It's the same principle. There'd be a planning application to put this in.
Yeah.
Has there been any comments from people?
This isn't a plan application. This is a pre-application.
So do they get involved? The neighbours? Will they have been?
I can only presume so. I've had this communication. This is all. It's a pre-application consultation, as far as I understand.
Didn't we have the same thing with the one they wanted to put opposite Herbert Street in Sydney Road?
I don't know.
It's recent,
Okay.
I think.
I don't remember. I'm really sorry. I don't.
That's all. Don't worry about it. I'll see you later.
It looks
Okay,
too near
so
housing.
does anybody want to make any comment about it?
Does it look too near housing? I mean, is it really on that bit where the arrow is?
As I understand the information I've got, yes, that's right. Yeah.
Isn't that where they want?
I think it's a bit too close to housing, so.
Then isn't that where we had an application recently to extend or build more houses? I'm sure it was off Moor Green Road.
That was that. The most recent one there was to change the housing mix because they were struggling to sell the larger houses and they wanted to put in more affordable housing.
That's right, yeah.
That's right. So basically, it's in the same area.
Yes.
Where is it on that one?
Where my pointer is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, right in the corner. Yeah.
Give or take, because the information is as it was sent out. That's all I've got. I don't know.
I think it's too close to housing, that'd be my comment.
Madeline. And
It's an existing mast, isn't it? So it's already gone through the process of being approved in its current location.
It's a new one, isn't it?
It does say existing, but it doesn't seem to indicate. It's proposed dish details and the proposed Mackie standoff.
It's just Herbert Street. That's not Herbert Street.
No, it's more, go down Moor Green Road, that new estate to the right.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
on here it says, existing Selnet Mast, Thorny Fields Farm, Herbert Street.
Well,
Yeah,
So it refers to what used to be there, but not, it isn't anymore, I
Yeah,
suppose.
it's not where the arrow is it?
That's the well, it is where they are. That's the map that came
So-
circulated.
but if you come straight down, if you,
Straight down there,
yeah.
there's the farm there that's
Yeah.
next to the land.
yeah,
Oh, I see, so it's a piece of land that belongs to that.
Or has at some point.
I see, yes.
They're not held.
They will be houses, they probably are already, yeah.
It's now-
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Well, it's.
I mean, to be fair, most of these, where they put up are close to houses.
Yeah.
I mean, you go in Edliston Road and there's a big mast and there's people living adjacent to it. It's not,
In the past, we made comment it was close to play areas or schools.
it's
Yeah.
a school run.
Yeah.
So nurseries, but I couldn't identify any play areas. The nearest one will be this area over here and this green space here. There's none on this side of Sydney Road otherwise. So you're a long way off. So I couldn't identify any proximity to those sensitive areas. I'm not aware of any nurseries in that area. That's one was the correct. And the schools.
The schools.
over there.
Lima Street.
So, yeah, I've got.
Okay.
I'm really sorry. I've got the information I've got from this. I'll get that. I
Okay,
don't know.
well, to be honest, yeah, we either make comment or we feel it's close to houses or we make no comment.
I can make any comment.
I mean, I think we would be going against what we've previously done if we mention that it's close to housing. Because when we've looked at when they want to place a mast, we've only looked at schools, etc., haven't we? And not housing. So, and two sides of it is fields, probably cows rather than children.
They'll not build behind it because of the brook.
Yeah.
Anyway, is that how you feel? I mean, we've got obviously
Charles, yeah.
Did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I think we ought to
Gavin?
wait and see what comments we get from the people that are living out there.
Right.
And if they start objecting, then I think we'll
That's the session.
Right. Everybody wants a mast 5G, but not on my back yet.
Yeah, it's what I
Yeah.
mean.
Right. So we'll leave that as it
Yeah.
is, and if there's anything. Okay, then 10, to note correspondence associated with Cheshire East regarding planning enforcement.
I have chased on several enforcement issues and received no responses yet.
That does surprise me. Item 11, consideration of environment enhancement project, Hungerford Road allotments.
Yep, part of the committee's oversight now is the environment, environmental enhancements we may be able to put in place. And the services manager has identified an opportunity for attenuation pond, but also increased biodiversity, support sustainable drainage. It's within our purview because it's on our land and it's at the bottom end of Hungerford Road allotments, and it's a relatively small investment, quite value. The Wildlife Trust are involved, and what do we call it? Environmental England, whoever looks after the rivers, they're involved, and for an investment of £700,000 from your environmental budget, you'll add a new pond and all the associated wildlife benefits and drainage benefits. That's what the report says in short, I believe.
Yeah, that's a positive because
Yeah,
there
it
is
is.
Yeah,
there
it
is
is.
big issues down that
Definitely.
lot, man.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
And the Balsam,
Yes.
I have been down there. It's quite bad, and this will improve the.
It's
The
very
drainage.
yeah, it's very boggy now. So it's obviously on the Duchy of Lancaster's land is at the bottom of ours, And it all flows through there, and that when it floods, that's supposed to be a floodplain, that's right. But because there's lots of blockages and developments, it gets worse now. And this pond will hold water for longer rather than allowing it just to flood, and also in the meantime create an environment. For
Hence why it's unlined.
Yes,
So then it drains.
exactly, drains nice and slowly rather than flooding.
Right, okay, we're okay then to,
Yeah,
as
Yeah.
you say, it's
Approve
small.
to spend
£700, that's-
£700.
Yeah.
Seven-
Yeah,
so that gets 700.
700.
Thank
Yeah.
Not watch them, you know. You have to be careful.
Yes.
Okay then, so that's been approved, so that then gets us to 12, to receive an update on the progress of the conservation area appraisal project.
That there's no change from the last meeting. That was submitted. Spoken to, or been engaged with a couple of Cheshire East members, and they've advised to try and arrange a meeting with senior Cheshire East directors, which I'm in the process of trying to achieve. They're obviously very busy and hard to pin down to a date. But they are engaging now, I'm not complaining, that's fine.
So there's
Okay,
any
then.
nudges.
No, thankfully they've got very helpful members with that.
Okay, that's been good. Yeah.
Right, okay then, and swiftly on to 13. To note, the proposed date of the next meeting of the Planning and Environment Committee is the 23rd of June. And that will be at 6 p.m. I now close the meeting. Thank you for your attendance and your input.